I lived here for 30 years, raising my children, and now I'm the grandmother of 4 and living in Houston, Texas. So thank you all so much for coming out, and I want to tell you, and I'm going to apologize a little bit ahead of time for my voice, but I have a lung disease that's called sarcoidosis, and it's kicking me very hard right now, but we're going to get through it. So I want to tell you a little bit about my story and how I got involved with all things liver.
Put the mic up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Short for me.
That's okay. Let's see. Is that better?
A little bit more. Yeah,
Is this? Here. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Is that good?
Yes.
Better?
Is this better, everyone?
yes. Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So in 1990, I was here in Hoover, Alabama, and struggling, and I didn't know what was going on. I lost a lot of weight, was not feeling well, and went to my gastroenterologist, and he said, "Oh my goodness, your liver disease is in the 300s." And I said, "Well, I guess that explains the fatigue." And I didn't realize just how sick I was. And then he said, "If I were you, I'd get a second opinion." So I traveled to Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, to get someone to give me a second opinion about what was going on and what was happening. And it was truly remarkable to be told, not once, not twice, but 3 times, "Rosie, you're going to die." And I thought, well, I don't want to hear this. I have small children. And it was just amazing because when I came back, I started thinking, well, what can I do? Asking the doctors, the physicians, and not a lot was really known about hepatitis, which I have hepatitis B. So not a lot was being talked about this liver disease. And I said, well, what can I do? And they said, we have an experimental drug called alpha interferon. I was one of the first ones to take alpha interferons in the state of Alabama. And I took it knowing that that drug itself, because it had not been approved, could take my life. But I had no options, I felt. So I took it, the injections, the insurance companies, the CDC, the physicians, everyone was waiting to see how it would respond. I could only take it for 3 weeks. It was just that tough. But in that process of taking that drug, I saw a commercial spot, and it had Naomi Judd on it, and she was talking about she had hepatitis C. And I said, she's talking about hepatitis out loud? Oh my gosh, you cannot be doing this, because it was taboo. You just did not talk about liver disease because people often thought, "Rosie, I didn't know you were a lush." And I'm like, I'm not an alcoholic, and yes, I may have had a glass of wine or 2, but I'm not an alcoholic. And it was all these stigmas that was attached to liver disease that really disturbed me. And I kept thinking too, at the time, I didn't know that my youngest son, who had been sick, had gotten hepatitis from me at birth. What I found out from the physicians here who said, "Rosie, you need to get him checked out. Something went terribly wrong." And because of that terrible wrong, we ended up selling a large medical malpractice lawsuit, and it made history in Mississippi because of the neglect and the negligence to hide something. They put in the file that the child would be dead, and the mother too, in a few years, instead of trying to make certain he had the immunization that he needed to protect him from liver disease. So learning all of that and getting the support from the physicians, that blew my mind, because I thought it was going to be just the opposite. So I sat down with a group of physicians here, UAB, Children's, Brookwood, St. Vincent's. We had a conversation, and I thought, I'm going to start a chapter of the American Liver Foundation. I'm going to do something that's going to empower people so that these things won't happen again, and to support the medical community so that they can be more educated on what's happening to their patient base. We mobilized with the physicians, with Dr. Paul Hubbard, who was a transplant recipient, Attorney David McKnight, who's going to be speaking here today. He was a transplant recipient at the time, and these things were not the norm. And Dr. Thomas Startzel, who was a dear friend of mine, was the father of transplantation, who I reached out to. I was amazed that he took my call. He did. I told him my story. So I wanted to do something to help other patients, not just myself. And I was dying. I was literally dying at the time. And I had to push through it. But I believe that the grace that God put on my life came because I pushed through to help someone else. And there were so many patients who were struggling. I saw them sitting in doctors' offices. And with that came better understanding of the alpha interferon. They tweaked that drug and made it better. Other medicines came on the market. I was getting calls from pharmaceuticals, from people. Ian Thelma-Thiel, who was then president and founder of American Liver Foundation, was coming back and forth to Birmingham. So in the midst of all of that, I began to heal. I began to get better. I got stronger. And all of a sudden, my numbers got better. My liver disease was beginning to be under control. But at the same time, I had to learn there was a greater need. So many people suffering. So one of the things that I've been instrumental in doing, with the help of great individuals, is to make certain that all babies born in the United States, through American Liver Foundation, and Coach Tom Landry and I both went to Congress and testified to change the law to make certain that all babies, your grandbabies' children, when they are born, they get those shots now. Before, it was not law. Other countries were doing it, and the United States was making certain that other countries did it, but they were not doing it for their own children. So we made it possible to make that happen, and that's one of the things that I really am so grateful in this liver journey. After fighting through all of that, getting the chapters started, and focusing on advocacy for patients, to be a voice, because everybody couldn't get up and speak. I didn't at one point. I didn't want to talk about liver disease. I just wanted to put a sign on my back and say, I don't have AIDS, but I have liver disease. And it was just that kind of stigma back in the early 90s. You just did not want to say, I have liver disease. And what was so remarkable to me was a lot of the corporate executives that I would talk to would say, come privately and say, Rosie, I'm going to support you. Don't mention this, but I have a liver disease. Or physicians who would tell me they couldn't say to anyone they had a liver disease because they were taking care of patients. And they didn't want their patient base to be afraid. But they were doing the necessary things to take care of themselves in order to take care of the patients. So when you think when you're going through liver disease, you're going through it by yourself, no, you're not. You're not alone. There's so much. If we just come together and support one another in this small community of liver, we would do some phenomenal things. And I know because in the 90s we did. We did some phenomenal things. And my good friend, Senator Hal Heflin, who passed away many years ago, he was one of my biggest supporters. He was one of the ones who made certain that we could get in front of the right people in Washington, D.C. And I can tell you, those strides that we made then, they're not there today. And it disturbs me greatly because there's so much that needs to be done. And for those who are fighting through liver disease today, a lot of people are still fighting in silence. And it should not be that way. We are an advanced country. We should have more going on in our country that focuses on taking care of our patient base a lot better than what we do. And one of the things that I always tell people, it's amazing, I'm almost 70 years old. And I'm pushing through a lot of health challenges. In fighting liver disease, it doesn't just isolate to just your liver. It affects other organs, it affects other functions in the body. So for the last 30 years, I fight against, with the lung disease, I have not just hepatitis B in my liver, I have sarcoidosis, granulomas in the liver as well, and it created cirrhosis. But over the years, the cirrhosis got better because I changed my diet, I changed what I put in my system. I learned that this body, the skin, is a huge organ, and it absorbs everything we put on it, including lotion. Everything is detoxified by this organ that's the size of a football that sits underneath your rib cage. It detoxifies what you eat, what you drink, and I had to learn the mechanics of all of that, because before that, I didn't know. And I didn't know how to take care of my young son, who was not supposed to live past 16 years old, and he's 39 today. So it was changing the mindset of saying, okay, this is where I am, but this is what I can do to mitigate the damages that's being done so that I give my liver every opportunity to survive. Then I survive. And in fighting that liver disease with sarcoidosis, I have prediabetes. I'm on 2 steroids right now, hydrocortisone and prednisone. I have kidney damage that came from the entecavir, which I have to continue to take, which is Bariclude. I don't know if you all know what that is, or if anyone in here is taking it. So Bariclude protects my liver from the steroids. So literally when I take it, it squeezes all the excess water that you gain from the steroids. It squeezes it out to keep the liver from being further damaged. And it's very hard on the system. And recently my liver disease came out of remission. So they switched me from the entecavir to Vimlity. And through Vimlity, I thought was good, but it created some side effects, and I had to go back to the entecavir. So I want to tell you that there are medicines out there that you can take, but you've got to take your health in your own hands with all those things, and 2 separate cancers, created heart disease, created adrenal issues. So all of those things I fight through every day. But it's a mindset that I choose, a positive mindset of this is not going to stop me. This is just a byproduct of what I'm trying to get through when you're dealing with liver disease. And I've had liver disease since, it's been 45 years now. So you can survive it, but you've got to make those changes. And I can tell you, organizations like Mid-South Liver and other organizations that Gina, who's going to speak as well, I've had the wonderful opportunity to work with these amazing women who have the same focus to get out there and empower people, to encourage them to change their lifestyle and to focus on asking the hard questions. You cannot just go to your doctor and the doctor tells you, well, I think, you need to do this or you need to take this medicine and you're going to be fine. Don't accept that. I get on doctors all the time about their patients. You've got to listen. And today, post-COVID, doctors are busier than ever. So you can get lost in the mix if you don't take the time. Write your questions down. I know there are times when I forget things and I'm just like, I better make a note of this. So when I get to the doctor, I pull my phone out, and my doctor is Dr. Joseph Galati, who is one of the best liver docs in Houston, Texas, in Texas, period. And he and I talk shop all the time. We can never take care of me because we're always talking about others and liver. But it's amazing because I write the questions down and then I ask him the hard questions, because there's only one you. You have 5 to 10, 15 minutes tops when you're in with your doctor. You may sit in there for an hour or two waiting, but you're only going to get about 10, 15 minutes tops. And he's already reviewed your file. He's made his evaluation. He's just going to listen to you for a moment, and then you're out. So you've got to make that time count. You've got to ask the hard questions. This is what I've been going through. How can I get better? I don't want to just be put on a medicine and left there. I want to be told what I can do. It is so important. It is crucial to ask the questions, the hard ones. It is so important to make certain that you make yourself a priority. Because I can tell you, when I started, I did a lot of these talks. And what sometimes gets me, and I'm in tears, is seeing so many that I started with, they're gone. And I knew in my heart, if little changes had been made along the way, they might still be here today. So don't take your health for granted. It is important. And I get emotional about talking about this because I am a liver patient. I am fighting the same battle that you're fighting. And even those who are caregivers, they are going through that challenge with you. It's just like they have a liver disease too. Because they're having to go through the emotional roller coaster of when you're up and when you're down. And to be able to understand and read those languages of your health, of today she's not feeling so good, that's okay. Or today he's not feeling so good, that's okay. But tomorrow is going to be better. You always have to have the attitude of, it's going to be better. Because if you don't, liver disease will take you. It's no different than cancer. I had to constantly tell myself through 2 cancers, both times told this was it, and I've never accepted death. I've accepted life. If you think death, death will happen. If you think life, life will be yours. So organizations like this that are providing information and providing these summits, it is crucial to engage them, to come to these events so that you can learn how to take better care of your health. And if there are any questions you all have to ask me, please feel free to do so. I will tell you today, I love organizations like Teresa's because they're out here advocating on your behalf. And I think it's advocating for me as well. Advocating for my son. He still has liver disease. He is prone to liver cancer. And every year, twice a year for me, I have to do alpha-fetoprotein just to make sure I haven't developed liver cancer because I'm now prone to cancer. You can do little things that can change the trajectory of your life. You just have to be willing to engage. No matter what the stressors are, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what's happening, you've got to engage. That's the most important thing. And that's what I did fighting death. And I decided not to just help myself, but to help others. So I'd love to hear some of your feedback, if you have any, before I leave. Or step down because I'm sticking around. Yes. Any questions?
Rosie, I have a question for you.
Yes.
And maybe I missed it. How did you get diagnosed with that initial liver disease? Like, how did that even happen?
Well, I said I was almost 70. I am. I'm 68.
You're lying, but go ahead.
No, it's true. But back in the 70s, people were using the same needle. Like if you go to the doctor, they give you a shot, they take the same needle, and they give someone else a shot. And I happened to be in the hospital for sarcoidosis at the time, which is, liver disease as well. And that's how I got hepatitis.
Oh my God.
And they told, at the time, this is so amazing because it was hepatitis A. So somewhere along the way, I got hepatitis B, and they're not quite sure how that happened, or it could have been hepatitis B all along, but they put it as hepatitis A. And so that's how I was initially diagnosed with it. But I was told that it was no big deal, and it would go away, you're going to live your life, it's going to be fine. That was far from the truth. Yes. So that's why it's so important to know today. Yes.
I think that's what concerns me, is that I just found out last week that I've got this disease. And the only reason that I found out was because I had a kidney stone, and I was passing the stone, and they wanted me to have a CT.
Right.
So they did the CT, found the stone, but they said there's something else going on your liver. But if it hadn't been for that stone, I would have not known that my liver was, I wasn't having any symptoms of any problems. So I guess that's the thing that's concerning for me, is that I guess they call it the silent disease, and that's why.
It is.
You don't really know until, and sometimes, is it too late? And that's.
It's never too late.
Right. Well, I feel that way now, but I just thought, but if it hadn't been for that CT, I wouldn't have really known it right now.
Do you realize that that's how most people find out? It's those haphazard moments where you go in for something else and then you find out. And it's amazing because you're talking about, I don't know what the true statistics is, but talking with the liver docs, the majority of people that we walk around every day are dealing, and especially since post-COVID, there's a lot of fatty liver disease because of diet, but the majority of individuals in this country are suffering from some form of liver damage. If it's no more than the environment. You have runners who go out and run for health, and they're exposed to all the fumes from cars and everything, and that the liver is taking in. It's your big detoxifier. It detoxifies everything. It's your chemical power plant. So you have to have it because it makes everything work. Without it, you can't exist. So when you get those diagnoses, don't see it as a grim diagnosis. Go into the mindset of, let's figure out how to make this better. And if you do that, it's like my good friend David McKnight, who's coming today, and I hope you all stick around to hear his story, because it's truly remarkable that he and Dr. Paul Hubbard had transplants around the same time. And it was Paul who introduced me to David. And I was talking with him the other day, and it's just, we're grandparents. He has 6 grandkids, I have 4. And when we started, our kids were just babies. And he didn't think he was going to survive, and here he is today. So it's all your mindset. It really is. The mind is a powerful tool. Yes.
You mentioned medications for liver disease.
Yes.
I was told there is no medication. Could you give me those names and how to spell them?
Well, Bariclude, you have to have, your liver disease your numbers have to be high enough in order where damage is occurring, for you to be able to take those meds. There is no cure for liver disease, period. Your doctors are right. But Bariclude is the brand name of the drug, and Entecavir is the generic name of the drug. And that's the one that I'm on now. I think you all will appreciate this. I walk around with this little reminder with me, and my Entecavir is in here. And thank you for showing her that. And it's amazing because those drugs matter. I can tell you that the Bariclude that they put me on, they wasn't sure. My doctors at UAB Liver Center, when I was here, they're the ones who took care of me. And when they put me on the medicine, they wasn't sure it was going to work. And I will tell you, there was only an efficacy of 7 to 9 years of taking the entecavir. Well, it's been 22 years I've been on that medicine. So the CDC is still following my progress because they're trying to see how it is that I've been able to survive for that length of period, that period of time. And I always tell them Jesus is in the blood. That's just my analogy. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I get the last question, then I'll come to you.
And could go without saying, but since we're talking about grandchildren, I have 15.
God bless you. Oh my goodness. 15 grandchildren, and you look amazing. I hope they look as good as you. You look amazing. Do you have liver disease?
Stage 4.
God bless you. You do not look it. See? It's a mindset. It's all in how you look at it. It's not the walk that we've been given. It's how we choose to walk through it. And gosh, you look amazing. To have liver disease at stage 4. I have seen liver patients who are jaundiced, who are very sick, could not make it out of bed at stage 3. And look at you, you're sitting here, getting the information that Teresa is making available through Mid-South. This is how you empower yourself.
I started out sad, but now I understand the mindset is better.
Yes. Always ask the hard questions. You've got one life. One life is yours. One life. If you don't ask the questions to make sure you can take care of that one life of yours, no one else is going to. And it doesn't mean that your doctors don't care. It's just that they have so many other patients. And sometimes people always, they'll get upset and they go, Rosie, my doctor doesn't care. And I'm like, well, tell me what's happening. And when they tell me, I'm saying, but you got to tell them. They can't read your mind. So if you don't tell them what's going on, it could have been something so crucial, small to you, but crucial piece of the puzzle for them, that they put it together and they're able to help. So that's why write your questions down. But I will keep you in my prayers because you are a beautiful soul. Stage 4, grandmother of 16, 15?
Well, one in heaven, 16.
See, I pulled that number out. 16. Mm-hmm. You are a beautiful soul. God bless you. Yes. I'm sorry.
What is your greatest accomplishment, acknowledging that you have liver disease and pregnant?
Say that again. My greatest accomplishment. The age is showing right now.
What is your greatest accomplishment, noticing you have a liver disease and correcting it?
My greatest accomplishment to me is God's gift of life, to be able to raise my children. That outshines everything that I've ever done. Second to that is being an advocate for patients and not willing to just take what someone says because they want from corporate to, and there are women in this room that know me well, know that I don't take, when it comes to patients and advocacy, I take it seriously. It's not a game for me. It's not a show for me. It's not a pat on the back for me. I work silently behind the scenes because I want to make things happen for people. So that's a great accomplishment for me, is to see people living and thriving. Thank you for that. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Yes.
Is kidney disease associated with the liver disease? Is that more a fallback on diabetes or a fallback on the liver when your kidney's failing at a faster rate?
It's a byproduct, meaning you can't connect it in terms of just saying because you have liver disease, you're going to necessarily have all these things. Some people can have liver disease and heal from it and not have any other issues. But the majority of patients, like me, because of the drugs that you take, It's not necessarily the liver disease, but it is the medicines. Unfortunately, it comes, if you watch the commercials and it tells you about this can take care of you, but read the fine print and it says, but you could die from this, this, and this, and this, and this. And it's true, because each person's body, their DNA is different. So that's why clinical trials are so important. And we tell people this all the time when they say, well, I don't want to be a part of a clinical trial because I don't trust it. And we're like, well, when you have to take that medicine, if your life is at risk, you will be grateful that you did take part in those clinical trials, because now that the scientists have made that medicine to assimilate with your DNA, and it mitigates the damages done. For me, I got COVID last year. As a lung patient, my doctors were freaking out because I was in another state. I was in LA at the time. And I remember them saying, Rosie, you need to be put in the hospital immediately. You know, you've got too much going on that can cause problems, and all the medicines you're on already. And with those meds, taking Paxlovid, even though I was taking one for the renal, and there is one for the renal, for those who have kidney problems or you want to protect your kidneys, if you ever get exposed to COVID, which with a compromised immune system, that's why I walk around with these things, even though I hate them. But you have to make certain that your doctor knows, so you can take Paxlovid for renal to protect your organs, because a lot of those medicines create more damage. And so I'm pre-diabetic from taking the Paxlovid created damage with the kidneys, and from taking all the meds that I take. Well, I'm down to 3 now. So I only take the entecavir, the Bariclude, or the, which is entecavir, and then prednisone and hydrocortisone. And that's it. Oh, and vitamin D. If you're not taking vitamin D, please take vitamin D, D3. It's crucial. It helps your heart, it helps your internal organs, it helps your bone health, and it mitigates some of the issues you will face down the road.
Don't forget about vitamin E.
Absolutely. Yes, that's important. But I always try to tell everyone, get as much of that from your diet as you possibly can without having to take something. But post-COVID, with liver patients, cancer patients, I've seen a number of them go through a lot of health challenges, and it's really just as simple as have your vitamin D levels checked when you go to your liver doc. Yes, but hopefully that answered your question. Yes, sir.
Did you have a hard time adjusting with the diet?
Oh, I did. Because I love to eat everything. If it's not nailed down, I'm trying to get it. It was hard. And, you know, it's an adjustment. And that's what I tell myself. But there are days when, you know, if I feel like eating something that might not be the healthiest, I will that's my cheat day. I will enjoy it. I will not deny myself of some of those things. But for the most part, I try to take in as many veggies as I possibly can, fruit. I drink a lot of water. I stop drinking my nice glass of wine, which I love. But I had to make some sacrifices. You know, if I want to live this life, you have to do it. And that's one of the things that the doctors generally, they'll call me and even ask me to talk to some of their patients once they get approval from that patient because of HIPAA. And it's because it's just a simple thing of changing your mindset and your diet. And exercising. If it's no more than 5 minutes, and I don't like to exercise, but I will get a walk in, you know. And in Houston, it's very difficult because of the heat. So, and when you're at a certain point in life, you're just not wanting to go out there in it. And dealing with health challenges too, it makes it a lot worse. So I tend to use a treadmill inside and do things that help myself and get proper proper rest. I cannot stress that enough. Rest is, with liver disease, it goes hand in hand. So if you're pushing yourself because everybody else is running and you're like, I got to keep up, you know, everybody's talking about, oh, you know, I got this to do and that to do, tell yourself, I can do this for an hour or two, I got to go home and rest. And tomorrow I'll be able to do more. Okay? All right, anything else before I? Thank you all so much. I appreciate you.